That's all right. Okay. There. Welcome to TikTok Live. Have fun. Okay. Hello, everybody. I guess we'll wait a few minutes to see if anybody comes on. We've got Brad, me, Jackie, and Kim here tonight.
Hello, everybody.
Let's see. Oh, someone's joined. A few people are coming in now. Hey, everyone. We had a request tonight to discuss co-parenting and narcissism. And we're also going to leave time for a Q&A. So if you have questions related to co-parenting and narcissism or just narcissism in general, please feel free to type a question in the bottom of the screen. We're notifying viewers you're live.
We'll give everybody a few minutes to come on in.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So are they able to do like verbal questions, or it's just written?
Just written questions. So that's why I have to be able to get in to read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is new to me.
Hello from Canada. We're in Canada also. Hello. I'm a narc radar. I can spot them from the same distance the moon is away from us. Hello, everybody.
Well,
that's really
that's
funny.
That's a gift. We'd like to learn that one.
Where from Canada are you? I missed your name. It's gone up too high. But hello. Hello, everybody. Hello. Yes, we did a live last week, and Brad's new to this. Ontario, we're in Alberta. Hi.
Hello.
We're trying to get all our heads in here, so if we kind of come in and out, we're doing the best we can. Maybe we can move it a little further. There we go. Okay, well, we've got a few people on here. We've got 7 people on here. We can get going. Oh, okay. Grew up in a family of 10. They're all narcs, and the youngest, my best friends, were narcs. Oh, my.
So you have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, of course, today we're thinking of focusing on the co-parenting topic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just for those of you that may not know exactly what we're focusing on today, that's kind of our primary focus.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And a Q&A at the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah. Go, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we can start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were discussing this a little bit earlier. There's sort of 2 aspects to this: co-parenting while you're married to a narcissist versus co-parenting once you've separated from the narcissist.
Well, yeah. So I would kind of break it down into these categories: married or, living under the same roof.
Mm-hmm.
So cohabitating. Also separated before a legal agreement is in place, and then co-parenting after a legal agreement is in place. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we want to start?
Okay, let's see. Are there any questions that are coming up here?
Drawn to narc woman. All my ex-girlfriends were narcs. Trauma bond is my jam. Cringe.
Wow. Yeah.
Trying to get away from co-parenting to parallel.
Oh, parallel parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's kind of roll on that one, getting into parallel parenting. With that being said, just out of curiosity, is parallel in reference to an agreement after divorce? Is that what you're referring to with parallel? We'll see if they come through with that.
No, let's just roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No agreement.
No agreement. Okay. So, as you all know, just dealing with a narcissist in general is hard enough. So we like to do is we like to validate how challenging it is to co-parent under any circumstance with somebody who is a narcissist. So you all have most likely had the experience that it's you just can't reason with them. And to some degree, to try to end up on the same page can be a real fight or a real conflict. So it becomes a discussion about what are the boundaries and what options are actually available to you given the circumstance that you find yourself in. So, yeah. Any thoughts?
On the circumstances? Like which one you're...
Well, yeah, so I'm just wondering here where we might want to roll with this.
No such thing as co-parenting. Either one or both of you are horribly selfish. You don't leave. It's just not worth it. Abandon ship. Those are some different comments.
Well, I think for those, I think it gets a little bit more complicated when you're still under the same house, same roof, and trying to parent. I mean, well, I guess there's different complications because once you're separated, if you were able to get or can get a legal agreement in place, having that very structured, so really thinking about all of the details, as many as you can put in that, because that parallel parenting or co-parenting situation needs to be very transactional, a business-like, really, right? It is time, place, here's how we deal with medical issues, here's how we deal with schooling issues, et cetera, right? Like if as much that can be documented and written down for the boundaries in which you're going to parent under is going to be really supportive and helpful. So there's that aspect. Now there's complications with that because of course then you're really having to negotiate with a narcissist or involve legal support in that or mediation support in that to get that into place. But so that's one aspect of it that can have its own complications, but you have to not take the bait because they will, and you have to remove the emotion out of that, which is a really big ask when it comes to parenting because kids are involved.
Yeah, and that's what's coming up. The only way to fight... Oh, whoa, hold on a second. The only way to fight is to educate the kid eventually, let the kids decide. The kid will either be a narc or not a narc, so depending on which way will determine the kid. Oh, we'll go to you eventually. What parameters would you suggest as far as when to respond and when to ignore? So yeah, we've got the kids part, and then that question is a good question.
Well, and just picking up from what Kim is saying here, unfortunately, because when the kids are in the middle, they get exploited, of course, by the narc in terms of, using them oftentimes to get to you or to trigger you or try to continue to abuse you in some way, use or abuse you in some way.
Even to spy on you, to gather information.
So, I mean, it is... it's just a difficult reality, and so to legitimize the difficulty of the reality and then to look at what options are available to you. Now here in Canada, most provinces, I think all provinces actually have this, through the legal system, there is an app that you can download, a communication app that you can download. So rather than just going through like regular iMessage or going through email or anything like that, if you use this particular app, it's actually recorded and the interactions can be used within court.
Oh, wow.
Because it's actually documented and saved on a court
Transcript or something?
Yeah, something like this. So, and this really helps smarten up the narcissist. Now, what I've noticed and what I hear from a lot of people as well is that the narcissist, even when that boundary is put in place, they still try to text you outside of the system. They try to message you outside of the system. They try to call you. So the best thing to do is, if that app is actually available, is to keep the boundary specifically to that and literally block them on everything else. Block them on your cell phone, block them on your home phone. Yeah.
So that's like it's a communication boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really reduces a lot of power
Mm-hmm.
for the narcissist. So yeah, good tool.
Well, that's a good question. You don't divorce your spouse when they have cancer. Why do you for other sickness?
Well, no, is that, if that's referring to mental health, I know we're kind of getting away from the topic to some degree, but, cancer isn't, a spouse with cancer isn't trying to destroy you or your family. If anything, they're begging and fighting to, prolong their life and prolong the health of the family.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a different situation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, talking about the boundaries of communication, especially within that parallel parenting situation, like you're talking about, it's what medium is available to you. So really looking for the options that are available for you in your area to find something that actually upholds a boundary. Now, a lot of times, even if they're on the system, or you try to use one of these kind of court provided options, like I was saying, the narcissist will try to contact you, and what they'll do is they'll often say something like, oh, something's going on with the child, I need to talk to you right away. Now, don't, as Kim was saying, don't take the bait on that one.
Mm-hmm.
If they say, our son just fell off of the, swing set, hit their head, they're in the hospital with a concussion, that's something entirely different. Because it's specific, and then it's kind of like, okay, what hospital, we have to get this taken care of. But if it's nothing specific, then you can just refer them to just simply saying, please use this app. And if they don't use the app, then that's the end of
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Let's circle back to the kids piece. How do you manage the children in a co-parenting situation?
Okay. Okay. So this is a fairly loaded one. So in parallel parenting, so again, it really depends on the situation. So let's start with parallel parenting. So within the realm of parallel parenting, let's say the original family system was mom, dad with 2 kids. So the original system is 4 family members. However, when the separation between mom and dad happens, what you end up with is you have mom, dad. When the kids are with mom, that's a family of 3. When the kids are with dad, that's a family of 3. So it's 2 different families. And what a lot of people really struggle with is what happens in this family. The parent, let me get my fingers right. The parent over here wants to be able to have influence still over what's happening here, but it's actually 2 separate families. And when you're able to get your mind wrapped around that, now, if there's any risk to the kids, it doesn't matter whether it's you as a parent or someone like me as a therapist or, any other friend, family member, community member, or anything like that. Abuse has to be reported. Now, if there's anything that's frustrating in the work that I do, it's that there's no, how do I say this? There's no real legal ramifications for psychological or emotional abuse. So even if you report psychological or emotional abuse, there's very little the authorities can do about it. So if you're the healthier parent within the mix, the way I say it, kids need at least one healthy parent. Of course, the ideal is that there's two healthy parents, but with the narcissist, that's just not going to happen. So if they're experiencing something very unhealthy, with your ex, then you want to make sure that when they're with you, you're having the most healthy boundaries, healthy nutrition, healthy sleep, healthy attachment.
That's a whole nother topic too, talking about attachment. Yeah.
And I think like this idea of it being two separate families, that might, that's going to create a lot of emotional response in people, because there's an initial family focus. This is how we are going to parent our children, and then that gets fractured, and then you have parents making different decisions and having entirely different lifestyles under that. So that could trigger a lot of grief, a lot of issues with like desperately wanting to sort of control and manage that out of the love of your children. So also be gentle and kind with yourself and recognize that that's a real emotional process to have to go through, and if you need support on that, then certainly reach out to find somebody in your area, or us, or whoever, who can help support your emotional experience of that. It's difficult situation to be in.
Yeah. Now, of course, there's a lot of research around, kids from intact families, and what I mean by intact and what the research means by intact is, a mother and father and children living together through that traditional lens. Two parents with children within the home. So, as you're talking about, Kim, it is very difficult when you end up separating or doing parallel parenting where the two households are completely different. Now, the one benefit that this does provide is it provides perspective for the kids. So if they're experiencing one thing in the home of the narcissist and, something else entirely different in your home, that actually allows them to start paying more attention to differences between families, like even when they go to their friend's house, to notice how things function there. And then they see that there's options of how they can choose to behave in life. And if you can empower them within their recognition of this choice, it can be actually a very healthy dynamic. So,
some good encouragement.
Yeah. It's hard to come to radical acceptance to my mother, who's a narc times 10, because she's my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mother-in-law is the queen of narcs. She is pure evil. Exactly. Run away. It is challenging having a parent who's a narcissist. Yep. And growing up in that.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times the unfortunate part is the kids end up being the biggest victims, right? They end up being the most exploited within this situation.
And the accommodators of the household.
Well, actually, that's a really good point, because a lot of times if the kids don't want to spend time with you, And it's like, you don't understand it because you're the one that gives them the most healthy household. The kids may be recognizing that to keep the other parent happy, because if you're the safest parent, they know, the safest and healthiest parent, they know that they can distance themselves from you, and even though it might be hard for you, you're going to make it through just fine. They don't have to do that reverse.
There's a healthy attachment style there.
Yeah. They know that you will be there.
Yeah.
So, and they know that if they don't keep the narcissist happy, that they're going to pay for it in some way. So unfortunately, what they tend to do is they try to cater to the narcissist in order to reduce the impact on their own selves.
Yeah. P.S. Thanks for the content. You're welcome. I learned this week how do you say that word? Machiavellianism.
Yeah, Machiavellianism.
Yeah. We did. Marriage was great until she leached on to my wife again. Now marriage is over. My ex is one and married to one. They torture me. My father is dead. He was worse at 61. I'm finally no contact with my crazy family. It's because they want to spend time with both of you together. I'm assuming that's the children. Just ask them, good for you, best thing you could do. I live alone, I have no friends. I speak to 2 family members occasionally. I can't keep a job.
Well, and yeah, especially if you grow up in a family that's so deeply impacted by narcissism, you do find yourself keeping your world fairly small, because the smaller it is, the safer, less vulnerable, and the more control you can kind of maintain within it. And then, of course, that circle of trust, as they say, is very robust. Like, somebody has to prove to you through and through and through that they're trustworthy in order for you to let them in. So, yeah.
That consistency over time.
Yeah. Why do I feel so sad about my narc mother even though she's been abusive? It's a very good question.
Well, I'll kind of jump into that one unless you two have something to say. It's not the way the natural order is supposed to be. The natural order is healthy parents that protect, support, and enrich the life of their children. And so even the idea of parenthood or motherhood, most people don't realize this, but it can be a big loss to not have a hope fulfilled. Right? And so that hope of what a mother could be, even though you recognize her as a narcissist, that doesn't remove the grief that goes along with that realization. And a lot of people don't realize that the recovery from the narc is a grieving process. So, yeah.
And I think it can look really different having, like, if you've grown up in a narcissistic household with a parent like that, because did you grow up with a covert narcissist or more leaning towards an overt narcissist? Because the tactics they use can be very different, and one might use something that's really sort of tugs at your heartstrings, really emotionally manipulative, and then it seems like there's something about love there, right? So you adapt and you attempt to create and hold that love. It doesn't seem so like such a violation or so aggressive when it's in that category, but it still is abusive.
She said malignant and covert. Yeah. There was a piece I was going to say on that topic, and I think too, there's this, from personal experience, this hope that if you constantly accommodate or you continuously find ways to accommodate and to please the mother or the parent, that eventually they will love you. And when you finally come to terms with the fact that it doesn't have anything to do with you, that it has to do with your parent who is narcissistic, and you personally can't do anything to change that, that's a really big grieving process in itself too.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you've put effort in year after year after year, and maybe you're not, until you're an adult before you recognize that it was them.
Yeah.
Right? And then all that effort that you put in just to try to earn the love from your parent.
Yes.
That just innately is supposed to be there.
Mm. Yeah, we did a recent video on this, right? The idea of, stop trying to satisfy the narcissist, or stop trying to meet their expectations, because even if you are able to reach that oftentimes unreasonable expectation, it's just going to shift to a different point. It's a moving target is essentially what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm gonna go back a little bit. How do I not take the narc's outbursts personally? My ex is a covert narcissist.
Yeah,
well, that's a hard one.
Who wants to run with that one? Well, naturally, when they throw something at you, see, the narc is really, really good at collecting all of the information that they need of your most vulnerable spots, and then of course that's where they attack the most. So they weaponize your most vulnerable areas. So their intention is for you to try to take it personally. Mm-hmm. Number one, that's the intent. Now, how do you not take it personally? It does come down to fully understanding really what the narcissist is all about. So one equivalent that I like to, a metaphor that I like to compare it to, is imagine you're walking down a sidewalk, there's a schoolyard full of kids, and let's say a 7-year-old kid runs up to you and calls you, and this is ridiculous, but calls you like a poo-poo head or something like this, right? Do you take offense to that? Right? Oftentimes we won't take offense to it because we look at that and it's like, well, that's a kid just, being a kid type thing. What's tricky with a narcissist is they appear like they're an adult, right? Their physical outside looks like they're an adult, but they're really emotionally and relationally stunted. So you're actually dealing with a juvenile. Mm-hmm. And so it's no different than being called names on a playground. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, you can't reason. Like, it would be ridiculous to use big vocabulary with a 2-year-old. Mm. And so when we talk to a 2-year-old, we don't use our regular vocabulary to do that. We actually have to bring our vocabulary to, the listener, to the audience, so to speak. So when the narcissist is the audience, you actually literally have to dumb yourself down. Now, we did a video about using the word ditto, and a lot of people thought, well, isn't that the same as saying, I'm rubber, you're glue, what you say bounces off me and sticks to you? Well, essentially, yes, because that's the type of person you're dealing with. And so a simple word like ditto is something to use in certain situations. Only with non-violent narcissists, mm-hmm. though. So,
hold on, I'm going to go back. There was an interesting question back here. Someone asked, can a narcissist even be aware that they are a narcissist?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes people will actually ask, like, am I a narcissist? But these are more the overt. You'll actually find some people are a true overt narcissist. Wears their narcissism like a badge because it makes them stick out more and makes them, it's
more special.
Yeah, more special. It's very interesting.
They'll own it.
Yeah, so it really depends on the type of narcissist. There's others that, even though they meet all the criteria for narcissistic personality disorder, would never be able to see it in themselves.
Yeah.
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 Because they outward project all of their flaws.
And I think it depends on whether they fall in the category of whether they can be diagnosable, or somebody who's really been sort of trained and habitualized to use all of the traits.
That's true too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a spectrum with this too.
So, and people will ask, well, can it be fixed? Right? Well,
it's a different topic.
Yeah. They would have to be very, very highly motivated.
Yeah.
Well, and this is why in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, which is called the DSM, it's basically the Diagnostic Manual for Psychology. There's a reason why we call them personality disorders. And when you think about changing somebody's entire personality, like the magnitude of the work that takes to be able to do that is huge. So is it possible? I mean, theoretically, yes. Is it 100% possible to get rid of the entire personality? No, but there is a way to start to mitigate or minimize the traits to some degree.
There was an interesting question here. Go back. It's frustrating to not respond to the lies told by a narc, etc. Any tips on rising above that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, my encouragement is always do your best to orient towards the truth. Now, I know how disorienting life can become with a narcissist and how confusing it can become. That's why truth becomes so incredibly important. Now, if there's anything that's that the narc fears or hates the most, it is truth. So
we actually talk about that in episode 21, Provoking the Narcissist. There's quite a bit of really good information in there, and you do talk about that truth piece a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you can, where you cannot engage in the conversation, right? So when you're asking about responding, what actually needs to be responded to, right? If they're just throwing out wild accusations and lies about you one-on-one, it's not really worth responding to. If it becomes something a little bit more invasive and harmful and damaging to your life, then possibly you need to respond. But these responses, I think, now need to be strategic. You can't use the same sort of emotional techniques. Right? It does hurt, and it rises up our emotions. It gets us all riled up, and we want to fight back. But that's exactly what they want you to do.
They're provoking
you.
Yeah.
So it's about sort of stepping back a little bit, or stepping to the side of that. Like, this is how I respond. It's not what they want, how they want me to respond, but I'm going to respond this way, as Brad's mentioning, towards truth and with facts.
And it's what's challenging when the narcissist is telling lies about you. We all have an understanding of who we are, and when somebody speaks in violation to who we truly are, it's natural to want to correct it. And so I just kind of want to validate and legitimize that experience of how difficult it is to hear somebody speak of you in ways that doesn't describe you whatsoever.
Can you explain the trauma bond caused to an adult child of narc parents?
Ooh, that's a loaded one. Yeah. So, can you explain the trauma?
Oh, sorry, I put in
Trauma.
bond in there. Sorry,
Okay.
I
The
just added
trauma
that
caused
to an adult child of a narc parent.
So I don't know if you're familiar with the term complex PTSD, but complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It does have a significant impact on your life, and the place to start is to start with being able to establish healthy boundaries, because you can't even do any work on the trauma or start to reduce the effects of the trauma until you get yourself into a safe boundaried place. So you want to establish a sense of safety, and a therapist's office is often a good place to start with this, because you have professional guidance on what boundaries are actually available to you and what options you can use to establish those boundaries. And then once that safe space is set up, then you can start doing the trauma type work that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. And are they asking too, like, what kind of traits you might see within that? No?
It just says explain the trauma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's complex.
It's complex, and it's the threads really pull into many different areas. Like, you may feel like really a loss of self overall, loss of esteem, confidence, not really even questioning your own reality of what you know to be true.
Yeah, this person said, I think what's worse is the ruminating arguments I have to narcs in my own mind because I'm so angry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, all of that. Be very kind and gentle with yourself. And I think one thing that's also very helpful to add to what Brad mentioned is if you have or can find really healthy, what we refer to as like secure attached people, getting into relationship with them, I'm not meaning romantic relationship, but like having good friends like that can really support the healing in that as well.
Yeah.
And really, usually it may only need to be, one or two people.
Mm-hmm.
Just really trusted people that you know can respect and honor you and are there standing as support in your corner.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I think we'll do one more question. Oh my goodness. Thank you everybody for participating in all these comments.
Mm-hmm.
They're just talking about books and stuff. Okay. Oh my. Okay. Does anybody have one more question? You can post it here. One thing that kind of you're welcome, goes along with all of the things we're talking about tonight. We do offer one-on-one coaching, and we are offering monthly group sessions to create a community of people, just like we were saying, that can support one another who are going through narcissistic abuse recovery, just kind of trying to create some healthy relationships with other people, and to, like, what would you add to that?
Yeah. It's a place to come together, like-minded, like-hearted people with similar experiences. So when's our first one, Jackie?
It's going to be on Wednesday, May 4th. I think we set it from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and you can register for that through our website, neonarcissism.tv, under booking sessions. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's about creating community. We think that's really needed and important right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And join us. We'll be doing more lives, and check out our podcasts and some feedback and some ideas. We've got lots and lots to cover on this topic.
Yeah.
And remember, you don't know how to deal with something until you know what you're dealing with.
And you're welcome. Thank you so much for all the feedback, everybody. Someone said, thank you for helping people out like us. I was fortunate to get out. Thank you. You're welcome. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing this. Thanks for following our page. We appreciate it, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
I have to figure out how to end it, though.